Chris Davis, also now known as the Lil Photo. We'll be interviewing him today about his longevity in photography, what he has in stores, and who he's worked with, and other companies he's worked with. Okay. Thank you. Let's start off with, where are you from?
Here from Newark. Live in the Central Ward. Been living here for the majority of my life. I mean, I was born in Brooklyn, but I was built here in Newark, so I'm very proud of that.
How was your upbringing?
My upbringing was pretty good. Both of my parents, they were from the Navy, so it's more so like a military household. But they weren't as strict or anything like that. But definitely in anything I was interested in, they definitely pushed forward with it. Including photography.
Were you raised majority in Newark or in Brooklyn?
No, majority I was raised in Newark. Except I have like little memory of being in Brooklyn. I was there just when I was just an infant. But most of my memories are just here in the city, and it's a lot of great memories.
Were you into photography before or after college?
I want to say it was a little bit before college. I mean, more so I was into just drawing and just like creating like just cartoons and like anime, like Dragon Ball Z and stuff like that. But it wasn't until in my senior year of high school, my social studies teacher, like he was a photographer for the school, and he always created the yearbook. So it was just one time we weren't doing anything in class, and he was just like, "Here, take this camera, just walk around and just shoot." And from there, on to college, that's where I took off.
Okay. Where did you graduate?
So where did I graduate?
Yeah, what college?
Oh, I actually graduated from Bloomfield College, Bachelor of Arts in Creative Arts and Technology, with a concentration in digital video.
What made you get into photography, and who are some of your influences?
What made me just get into photography is just capturing that moment. Some of my influences now, some of the photographers here in Newark, such as Akatola Hanif, a fine art photographer called Thorsten Von Gard. He's definitely one of my favorites. It's like countless, photographers. Even some of the ones who aren't here today, like Vivian Meyer. I just recently, looked at her work, and I was just very inspired by her shoot photography. So that's where I'm more so going with my kind of style of photography.
Okay. So how long did it take you to find your style and your way around the photography world?
So I feel like my style has changed from the time that I've started. They've had this theory about putting in 10,000 hours into your craft, so that's like equivalent to like 10 years. So it literally took me 10 years to like really find my style and how I wanted to shoot. Everybody starts off as just getting that camera, and then they just want to take portraits and maybe like nature shots and stuff like that. But it really does take time to like dissect other photographers and plenty of other photographers who've done it before you to really figure out where you want to shape your style into. So it definitely took me 10 years.
Who was the first celebrity you worked with?
First celebrity I officially worked with, I want to say Lil Boosie. So back in 2013, I was like working in the Empire State Building with like different brands like Coogi and Etonic. So definitely say he was coming along with when he just got released from prison. He was pretty much just trying to just make a comeback. So he definitely wanted to come back with like his own clothing line, which was called Jewel House, and pretty much I got like a lot of behind the scenes of that. He was also shooting a music video there, and I got a chance to interview him as well, which was pretty dope. And like I said, he's a real cool individual, funny as hell. So it was definitely like just like a overall cool experience. So I got to meet like a lot of legends like along this way. So this journey has definitely been a little bit crazy, and it's still getting crazy.
Okay, tell us about your experiences shooting with celebrity clients. Like, how is the difference between shooting them and like other regular random people?
I mean, definitely when it's you know with you know like a celebrity, you definitely want to keep it professional. Of course, like you know, everybody else wants to have fun and stuff like that, but you always want to make sure you're doing stuff on time and that you're very courteous of their time as well, because you know they can be shooting with anybody else, you know, besides you, or like I said, or just being in their presence, you know, at this time, you know, when they're very busy. So you definitely always want to be considerate. You always want to be polite, and you always want to just get straight to the work.
Who all have you worked with?
It's I mean, it's a lot. I mean, besides Lil Boosie, I want to say who else? Okay, so there's Lil Boosie, there's Aaron Reed, there is who else I want to say? So I'm like, it's just so many celebrities I'm like thinking of like right now. Yeah, it's not coming to me right now.
I see Jonah Hill on your Instagram.
Oh yeah, Jonah Hill, yeah. Jonah Hill, which was like a funny story. Like, I was just going to like meet up with a friend. Shout out to Wes, well connected. Check him out on Instagram. I was just meeting up with him, you know, in like Soho. We were just gonna like kick it. He was coming back from Queens, and I was just in Soho, just shooting around. And then I just stopped by to go get some coffee, and then next thing you know, Jonah Hill just pops up out of nowhere, and I'm just that's crazy. I'm like, he just walking out in the street. But what's cool about him is like he's like a real chill individual. In the coffee shop that I went to, that's basically his chill out spot right there. So like off the bat, like knowing like my experience with celebrities and how to like, you know, approach certain people. Like even when I'm doing my street photography, you're supposed to approach people a certain way. Now, like so when I pulled up on them, a lot of times when you try to walk up to somebody, you want to have a conversation, you start off by, you know, picking out something that, you know, that's cool about them, or like some kind of like special trait. So first thing I noticed was his sneakers. I was like, hey, yo, I like your sneakers. Blah, blah, blah. He was like, yeah. So like that's where the conversation kind of started. He was a little cool, like he was a little bit at ease. So he was like, yeah, this is new, whatever, Air Maxes, and then from there on, that was just that. So I just like put that out there and I just let him be. But then like right before he left, I was like, hey, you know, is it okay if I can, you know, take your portrait? Now, definitely when it comes to, you know, just approaching people in general and street photography, a lot of times when you do say picture, a lot of people, it'll come off like a little bit like negative. It's like, oh, why you want to take a picture of me? But if you rephrase and say, hey, it's okay if I can take your portrait, it sounds a little bit more professional. So you're just rewording into your verbatim, and pretty much from there, and I mean that was pretty much it. And I just caught him. Somebody else I'm thinking of is a Fredro Star and Hassan White. A lot of times you see like those guys like on like, you see Fredro Star, of course he's with Onyx. He was on Moesha. Hassan White, you guys know him from The Wire. You know, the guy who always, you know, goes like this. You see him. Who else? What's the battle rapper's name?
There's a lot of those.
Forgot, but definitely just capturing like just those celebrity moments. I mean, it's pretty cool, you know. And like I said, they're really cool individuals. You have to just treat them as human beings, you know, and not just, you know, because of course, you know, everywhere they go, they're going to be looked at, you know, everybody's going to be like starstruck and want to, you know, go up to them, stuff like that. But as long as you treat somebody like a human being, how they want to be treated, then it's perfectly fine.
So you work with brands like FUBU, Coogi, Puma. How did that all come about?
I mean, well, listen, the Puma stuff was pretty crazy. Sorry, I don't mean to get off topic, but Michelle Obama, yes, I did photograph her as well, which was pretty dope. That was like the highlight of my career.
How did that happen?
Well, basically, I had like a few connections, and somehow like the White House had, you know, reached out and said, hey, you know, Michelle Obama's coming into Newark, and you know, we want you guys, you know, want you to come in and take some photographs of her. So like, of course, there's like a lot of like news outlets that were there too, a lot of other individuals as well, but definitely just having an opportunity to, you know, photograph the first, you know, black first lady, you know, in United States history, you know, that's big. To even, you know, capture that and be in the presence of her is just like amazing. So, I mean, that was a pretty dope experience itself. But definitely to, you know, talk about just working with those different brands. I mean, a lot of times it's just, you know, networking. I mean, of course, you know, you can be the hardest, you know, the most hardworking individual there, but if you really don't know anybody, then that could be a challenge. I mean, of course, you can, you know, work your way hard and, you know, all the way up, but if you don't make those connections along the way, then, you know, pretty much it's going to be a bit hard about that. But definitely working with Puma, it was definitely great. I met some great people along the way there. Great photographer, and he was the model as well. His name's a kid named Trav, so shout out to Travis. He was, you know, excellent. Like I said, that was just pretty dope. I mean, you know, especially like when you're working with those brands like, you know, FUBU, Coogi, Tonic, and all these different brands. And like, I've worked with Urban Outfitters and Lids as well, just like doing like the FUBU campaigns. Definitely with that type of stuff, you know, you get super excited and, you know, you just want to show the world immediately and stuff like that. But sometimes you just gotta, you know, just back up for a bit, just realize that, you know, you're dealing with a business and you don't want to, you know, release something already that, you know, that they're planning on dropping maybe like said for like, you know, the next, you know, season or something like that. But definitely just by just networking, just, you know, being polite to people, being nice, and, you know, just having conversations. I mean, I think that's the best way to start, is just by having a conversation. And, you know, you never know where that can lead, you know, to.
And all these brands reached out to you.
Right, so it's definitely the individuals that are within those brands who work who definitely reach out to say, hey, you know, we want you to shoot this,
okay,
and we want you to be a part of this. So, you know, you always gotta be on call, you know, like even if you're working like a 9 to 5 and you're, you know, deep within your craft, you know, sometimes you gotta make that sacrifice, that very small sacrifice for the bigger picture.
Yeah. Have you done any work on television?
Yes, I have done works on television. I've actually shot a music video for Antonio Breeze. He was an upcoming rapper from Boston. And what was cool about that is that, you know, we actually had the chance of being on MTV and VH1 and like a plethora of, you know, different outlets. And I feel like the most fulfilling thing for me, it was not only just being on TV and like being on national TV and people to see it, but it was just more so like when my grandmother, like all the way from like Delaware, she like called my mother like excited, saying that she seen me on like my name on TV and how I directed this, you know, this music video, which was, you know, definitely huge. I mean, even so, like when working with, you know, those different brands, especially with Puma, you know, they dropped that release in so many different other stores, and seeing my images, you know, in Times Square at Foot Locker and all this other stuff, it's really big, and it's just like, you know, like, well, yo, I never thought I could really, you know, do it, you know, but it just goes back to just putting in those 10,000 hours and just keep, you know, being consistent and constantly shooting. Like my routine every day is to get up and just start shooting. Like, doesn't matter what your subject matter is. Sometimes you may want to switch your subject matter just so that way you can just get more into shooting. I mean, of course, like I would do, you know, portraits and event photography and stuff like that. But, you know, while I'm sitting at home, you know, if I have like some kind of free time, you know, I want to use that time to be more, you know, to be more in depth with my craft. So that's where, you know, I picked up film photography. I want to, you know, master that. I feel like I mastered that, but there's still a lot more that I can learn. That's another thing. You always got to be hungry for learning. You know, of course, people like hungry for money, but being hungry for like learning it's going to, you know, it's going to be equivalent to that. So, and back to the film photography, you know, I decided to challenge myself with that, learning how to develop, being in the dark room, not staying away from a computer and being more hands-on. That's something I definitely want to challenge myself on. But just dealing with like the street photography and just going out and just capturing images of the people, and, you know, in these current moments now, that can just be going within, you know, a split second. So that was just, you know, just my main thing. Just keep shooting.
I noticed that you do a lot of black and white, like, photos. Like, why is that?
So back to that, like doing black and white photography. Of course, like, you know, I wanted to, you know, switch up my subject matter. I mean, of course, it's, you know, I don't shoot a lot of, you know, like half naked women or like just, you know, just the regular degular that you may see, you know, on Instagram or any other social platform. With black and white photography, you know, of course, when you're dealing with colors, you're going to focus more so on like, oh, there's different colors, like all these different things that are around there. But once you have black and white, it's just straight like that, just black and white. and that makes the individual who's observing the image more so just observe like whatever the main purpose of that photo is. So you're not distracted by somebody's sneakers, like, oh, he has on new Jordans or whatever, or hey, that the color of those flowers are like pretty dope. But it's just more so just to focus and dissect that actual image. So when I deal with like my shoot photography, I may not be consciously thinking of what I'm actually shooting, but subconsciously I know that I'm capturing some kind of moment that can touch some kind of emotion, so that's just like my whole thing was dealing with black and white, because it feels more authentic to me, especially when I'm shooting film. It's a lot more authentic and it's more real. You have more control over it, and you can really bring out people's emotions and say, hey, this was awesome. I constantly get DM'd like every day, just like saying like, yo, like you're an inspiration for me. Like, biggest thing for me is that I'm up at like 2 o'clock in the morning, like this girl from Spain, like barely can speak a lick of English. She's probably going on Google trying to translate what she's trying to say, but somebody to say that they even appreciate your work and that that they inspire you, that's a humbling thing. You should always be grateful that anybody wants to say something about your work, or even reach out for an interview. Like, that's anytime somebody comments about your work, that's something that you should be very grateful for and humble for, because people can overlook you.
So what are you working on what are you working on now in your career?
But now in my career, right now I'm just trying to push this this film agenda. I mean, if you can see like right here, I know if you guys were just like looking here in the interview, like I'm over here shooting like medium format film and shooting with like just 35mm film. So right now, like my whole project right now, I'm working on a project about Newark. If you know anything about Newark, or if you're even living in Newark, you're going to see that there's a lot of changes going on, in your surroundings. So my idea is just to capture just the moment that it is now before it goes through this complete change. I mean, I'm kind of upset with myself, but not really, because when you learn certain things, it's the perfect timing. But a lot of times, when Newark wasn't, when it didn't have this big Prudential building, the arena, all this other stuff. I mean, you said it, gentrification. I mean, I'm kind of upset that I didn't capture Newark, how it was back then. So now, to redeem myself, I'm trying to capture how Newark is now before it goes through complete change. So that's just been my main focus. I mean, I have a bigger audience now, so I don't feel as though like I'm shooting for people here in Newark, but I'm shooting for people who live way outside of Newark, who are in other states and other countries, who are paying attention to to the work. So I definitely want to keep a good image of Newark, and I'm just going to utilize these tools and utilize my vision to even move forward with that, and even come out with like a photo book as well. But right now, like my main goal is to push that forward. A lot of people don't know that film itself, like I brought like a roll of film. People don't understand like this kind of film right here, celluloid film, was developed here in Newark, which is a history that a lot of people here from Newark don't know, and a lot of people outside of Newark who do photography don't know, because it's not in the history books. So right now, that's like my main focus, to push that forward and to put Newark on the forefront. That's what I've been working on so far.
So, what are some of your future endeavors? Like, what do you want to do, like, when you develop more of a craft, like with videos and like stuff like that? Do you want to do more videos, or like movies, or like just photography? Or do you want to learn like the other side?
I mean, me and videography, we have like a love-hate relationship, but no, definitely, I want to do some more, documentary work. Not more so movies. I mean, the movie industry is it's pretty cool, but I feel like maybe somewhere in the future I might do so. Thinking about like making a feature film, but I'm just more so just focused on just like the real life stuff. Just documenting what's happening now, not just some kind of fantasy and some kind of not saying like a front, but I'm not all into like the whole glamour and glitz of that particular industry. Even though I've worked with some of like the well-known brands, but just for me personally, like I want to more so just work on some documentary type work, and just try to capture now before it's going before our eyes.
How many cameras do you have in your collection?
I mean, well, I definitely got rid of a lot of them. I mean, I used to keep a lot of cameras. I mean, I know you see like these 3 right here, but I feel like a camera that's not in use is a camera wasted. So a lot of times, like, I'll sell my cameras or I'll give away my cameras because I know that there's somebody out there with some kind of vision that can really utilize a camera in their hands. Doesn't matter what you're using. I mean, you can have the top of the line. You can have a Leica. You can have a Sony AR, A7R or whatever, or you can have like your grandma's like old HP camera from like 1990 something. I mean, it doesn't matter as long as you have some kind of tool in your hand. That's the best camera that you can have. But actually, I definitely got rid of it, so I'm maybe down to like, I want to say 15 maybe. But I definitely had a lot of cameras though. But I definitely sold them or gave them away.
Which brands do you like using the most? Like, what do you gravitate towards the most?
All right, so definitely, this is like the great debate, because whenever you're starting photography, you'll get different brands beating your head, such as Canon or Nikon. But after doing my research and growing as a photographer, you get to learn about just certain other brands and what the brands stand for and what the quality of their images are. So some of the brands that I do gravitate to, you're going to see here a lot of people don't know about this brand, which is Leica, which has a very rich history of photography. And a lot of times when people see Leicas, they either signify, okay, this is a camera that's for like millionaires or like bankers or like just somebody who has a whole bunch of money. But it's really not just about just like the hype of it or just the name in general. But it's just more so just what works for you. But I definitely like Leicas. They have a very good build quality. I mean, this is a camera that they did a joint venture with a brand called Minolta, which was very popular today, which is basically Sony today. But I love this camera. This is like one of my daily cameras that I shoot with. This shoots 35mm film. I do dabble in the digital works as well. I definitely shot with the Sony, especially doing like the Puma campaigns. I shot with the Sony A7R2, which was pretty dope. I mean, the cameras are built, for this day and age. So, but Leica is one of them. This is my latest camera that I bought, which is a Mamiya. This is a medium format camera, meaning that the image is a lot larger. You get a lot of great quality from this. Like you'll be surprised of what this can produce. You thought it was like a digital camera, in a sense. Of course, I Canons. I have like a lot of older Canon cameras, and for the instant stuff, I use Polaroid, which is the classics. But definitely, those are some of the brands that I gravitate to, but especially Leica.
Okay. How can someone get a photo shoot with you?
You can always DM me. I mean, right now, like I haven't been too focused on doing like some commission work because I've just been more so focused on these different projects. But definitely, if you want to shoot, I mean, it doesn't have to necessarily be film, but if you're looking for a digital shoot, you can always contact me at Dolo, so DOLO _FOTO. Definitely DM me. You can always email me. There's an email button that's there, and you can book a shoot.
Okay, when it's all said and done, you might be done with photography, or maybe not even done, but you might have slowed up. Like, how do you want to be remembered?
When it's all said and done, I mean, what I want to be remembered for is just be consistent and just be the best that you can be. I mean, of course, when we're shooting images, not everybody's going to like it. But I want to let that photographer know that, just give them a chance not to like it. you know, you shouldn't let anybody's judgment of your work, you know, stop you from shooting or discourage you. That's the biggest thing. It's been a lot of, you know, blood, sweat, and tears, you know, for this craft. So only thing I just want to let that photographer know is just to keep going, just keep shooting, never stop learning, challenge yourself. Because like I said, I've been in every, like the beginner photography shoes. I remember when I felt like, you know, I sucked, you know, and that I didn't really appreciate my work. But you know, as long as you know keep, you know, focus of, you know, just shooting and, you know, just really putting, you know, just putting that hard work and, you know, those nonstop hours into it, you know, you're going to be the best, regardless of, you know, who thinks so. You're going to be the best that you can be, and that's how I just want to remember. Just keep going.
I want to thank Chris Davis for stopping by doing the interview, for saying yes when I asked him.
I want to say thank you. It's an opportunity. I really appreciate that.
I was very humble when I asked you. I was so scared. I actually went to ask you like a week before or so before, and I was like scared. I was like, I don't know what the answer's going to be. But when you say yeah, I was like, oh Lord, thank God. I was so relieved, yo. But thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
I really appreciate this. Like I said, I look at any opportunity for, like, for anybody like such as yourself, just to ask somebody, you know, like myself, just to, you know, have some, you know, a conversation or an interview. You know, that's something big, because some people, like I said, they may not want to, you know, say anything to you at all. They could be bypassing work, but like I said, it's really humbling, and it's really, you know, an honor just to be here and just be sitting with you and you interviewing me. So regardless of what I've done and how people view me, like I said, it's still, you know, a humbling experience. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.